What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be talking about the most hated firearm on the internet. We're going to be talking about good things about it, bad things about it, why people hate on it, and some good things to come in the future from it basically. But before we get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, subscribe, tell me what you carry today, what kind of holster, what kind of ammo. Also, tell me your thoughts on the CZ P10M. Now the CZ P10M, it is a 7+1 striker fired handgun from CZ. So right away you know you're going to get quality regardless of what anyone says. Now 7+1, that might be a shocker for a lot of people, but we're going to get into that. The number one complaint I hear is lack of a slide stop, but I've always been trained to release the slide from the back. I always have been taught to release it like that and never use the slide release, because that is a way you can get malfunctions. That's a way you can have malfunctions, failures to feed, stuff like that. So I've always been taught, so that's never been a problem. But as you can see, there is that internal slide lock, so it still does lock back on the last shot, unlike the first gen of the Ruger LCPs. Now, obviously, when it's empty, you do have to drop the mag in order to release it. They did this because the M stands for micro. They designed this handgun around pocket carry. Now, I would say this is one of those firearms that is about the perfect size for pocket carry and fighting. Stuff like the LCP and the LCP Max and Bodyguard and stuff like that tend to be a little bit snappy for people. But stuff like the Walther PPS M2, the Glock 43, the Shield, they tend to all be very good firearms for everyday carry, and they're very shootable and manageable. Same with the CZ P10M. And when you compare this to stuff like the Shield, it's smaller. When you compare it to the Walther PPS M2, it is also smaller, both in the grip and the overall slide length. So you can pocket carry this, and I do pocket carry it. I've actually been pocket carrying it lately at work, just for testing purposes. Now I do have to say it's been 100% reliable, and that's really what this comes down to. On top of that, I want to say Hive released a base plate, which is a +2, which I ordered, so we'll be doing a review on that. It sits about here. So it's going to add some length, but it's going to be a 9+1 for 10 total rounds. In my opinion, 10 rounds is just fine. If they're reliable rounds, if it goes bang, then there's zero issues with that. On top of that, unlike the Glock 43 and the Shield and stuff like that, it did come with a rail, so you can mount a light. Another nice thing about it is I'm pretty sure it has an ambidextrous mag release. You can swap that out, and because there is a lack of a slide stop, it's fully ambidextrous from my understanding. Now the downsides to this are definitely those sights. They aren't night sights, but here's the thing. This firearm has been selling for $229 on Palmetto State Armory. $229 for an awesome pocket pistol, self-defense firearm, light carry is a great deal. On top of that, it has a decent sized trigger guard for wearing gloves and stuff like that. The finish is unbelievable. You will not have any rusting. You will not have any problems with it. It may show a little scratches here and there, but other than that, it's been 100% solid. If you throw a P365 in your pocket and you actually carry it for a good amount of time, you will see rust. You will see rust on your sights, possibly your mags, and so on. That is not the case with this. On top of it, we all know CZ is one of those top quality companies that sells firearms for a great deal. And because this thing has been bashed so much, you can pick them up for $229. Now, the number one complaint is it's part of the P10 series, but it doesn't have the P10 trigger. Notice how the trigger is more of a curved trigger, and it's a little thicker versus like my P10S, which is a very thin trigger. The trigger has been the number one complaint, but let's take a look at that real quick, right? It's heavy. It's probably about 7 or 8 pounds. But think about the Bodyguard. It's about 12 pounds. The LCP, about 10 pounds, right? That is your safety for pocket carry. And I don't mind that. It's a very crisp trigger. It's not like it's a long trigger or anything. It's very short, and then here's the reset. So it's just a little bit heavier. Now, did they fumble it? Here's the thing. If you worked on a project for extremely long, and then all this new stuff came out, you're not just going to give up on your project. So I salute CZ for still releasing it. I promise you CZ will be coming out with a micro pistol. It'll probably be at SHOT Shows, stuff like that. That's actually a stack and a half, like a SIG, Sauer P365, or a Hellcat, or something like that. But for $229, that's Taurus, that's High Point, that's Sky, and you're getting a CZ. Now, the other downside to this firearm is lack of aftermarket support. Like I said, they just started coming out with base plates. I have the +3 base plate, I believe it is. So it's a 10+1 setup for 11 rounds. That's actually held up and been reliable. You can get that at CZ Custom. Like I said, Hive came out with a smaller base plate that's +2, so that'll be 10 rounds. Holster-wise, companies like Vetter make holsters for it. Other than that, I don't know of too many other holster companies, but Vetter is a great holster company, so why not? Other stuff is lack of grips and sights and all that, which isn't a big deal for me, because in my opinion, you don't need all that extra stuff. For me, I just did my own grip job. Yes, I made it look pretty bad, as you can see right there, but it works for me. It fits my hand really well and makes it really shootable. Like I said, the finish on the slide is unbelievable. It's very easy to shoot. Nothing wrong with this pistol at all. So people mainly hate it because nowadays people got into the bad habit of releasing the slide from the slide release. In all reality, that's a slide stop. That's what lock, or a slide lock. That's what locks your slide back. You were supposed to slingshot it to get that next round in there. You have so much more power to force that bullet in there. It's going to be closer to the thing actually cycling, like when you're live firing. So, in my opinion, I have zero issues with that. Overall, I think it's a good handgun, and I think that the Hive base plate is really going to put it out there. Because think about it, $229, the Hive base plate is $30, so we're now talking $260, plus a $60 Vetter holster. For $320, you now have an awesome setup. You have plenty of capacity, backup mag, and so on. On top of that, it's been 100% reliable. You could throw a light on there if you want. It's small enough to pocket carry, but nowadays everyone is so about capacity and carrying full sizes and all this stuff, when people used to carry 5-shot revolvers all the time and still do to this day. The Glock 43 that I actually just received, I absolutely love. I think that's a great firearm. That's only 6+1, and a lot of people carry that. The P10M, like I said, 7+1, that is plenty, in my opinion, for self-defense. The ergonomics are on point. The texturing is really good, but I do like a thicker grip on my firearms. And that slide is a little bit wider than the grip, but that actually really helps with recoil. It's a very flat shooter, very smooth shooter. I will say the trigger is not the greatest, but like I said, neither is the LCP, neither are revolvers, neither is the Bodyguard. It just is what it is. That is the point of a pocket pistol. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with this. They have a ton of features on it. Like I said, these aren't night sights from Tritium, but they do glow once they've been charged. So they're actually not terrible. But the problem with that is you're carrying in your pocket, so chances are they are not going to charge unless you have your firearm sitting out somewhere for a while and then put it in your pocket. They threw memory pads on it, which actually give it some good texturing to fight some recoil and associate your finger with your brain, keeping it off the trigger. So I always like that. Like I said, $229. That is a great deal. You can get your first pistol or your starter kit or just a firearm that you don't care about scratching or, basically destroying with dirt, lint, all this stuff, gunk in your pocket. We all love the looks of our firearms. A lot of people don't want to beat the crap out of them, but that's just how it is with everyday carry. So it might make you feel a little bit better only spending $230 on it. In my opinion, it is not a terrible handgun. It's not my #1 choice by any means, but at the same time, it's a functioning firearm that's got decent capacity for its size. It fits in a lot of pocket holsters that fit the Glock 43. Obviously, I'm talking soft holsters or DeSantis holsters, stuff like that. Like I said, Vetter makes Kydex pocket holsters for it as well. So you can have a sweet setup, a very small, light, reliable handgun from CZ, just something to carry. Now, obviously, over here, I like smaller firearms, so this is right up my alley. I always talk to people about the fact that if you are in a situation like that, you have to plan for it. For me, if I'm pocket carrying somewhere, it tends to be somewhere where I need my firearm to be in the most discreet places possible. If I'm going somewhere that's super crowded or busy or higher crime rate or so on, I'm going to be carrying my Glock 26 with the X grip with 15 rounds in it, or my Glock 27 with the X grip with 13 rounds in it, right? I'm going to be carrying something bigger with more capacity. But for many situations, this will do the job. Taking the kids to the park, going on a walk, running to the store. This is a great option to have. Like I said though, you just got to get used to that trigger. So is this a terrible handgun? I don't know how people could say that for only $230. Look at its competition. I know people are going to say stuff like the GX4, and I think the GX4 is a great handgun. But once again, try pocket carrying a GX4. The finish on the GX4 is going to get destroyed. I've tried it. Something like this just doesn't lose its finish, and I think that's huge. I hate when my firearms rust. I think when you're paying a high amount of money for handguns, they shouldn't rust like SIGs. But In this case, it doesn't. So for $229, having the reliability, going bang every time, it's a great handgun, especially for today's economy, today's market, and with how expensive firearms are getting. So in my opinion, it's a great handgun. Nothing wrong with it. I don't know why people talk down on it. Everybody who's purchased it, that's posted a comment saying, hey, I bought it because of your video, has said they liked it. You just got to get used to that 7 or 8 pound trigger. But I do have to say, it does loosen up. It does lighten up a little bit when you're actually live firing it. When you're dry firing it, it may shock you a little bit if you're used to a Glock or a SIG trigger or the CZ P10 series trigger. But in all reality, for a pocket pistol, having a long, heavy trigger pull on bodyguards and LCPs and stuff like that, this is a much better trigger. Very crisp, very short, very nice reset. Probably the most audible reset I've ever felt and heard. So, absolute great handgun, in my opinion. Nothing wrong with it. Thanks for watching, guys.